CFL Report. The Ticats stumble. The Bombers are second. A chat with the CFL's hottest quarterback. And Leaf and Marty go head-to-head. The CFL Report, brought to you by Foster's Lager, the Golden Throat Chama. And tonight we're live at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto, 35 minutes away on the CFL Reports from bringing you the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Toronto Argonauts as Ottawa looks desperately for a victory once more. Hi everyone, I'm John Wells along with Leif Pedersen. Let's deal with some news in Canadian football this week, beginning with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, where quarterbacking problems are hurting Saskatchewan at this point as we look ahead to Week 14.
Well, they really are, John. It's so tough at this time of the year to lose your starting quarterback, Kent Austin. Tom Burgess has done a great job since he's come in, but they needed some help, so Kenny Hobart has resurfaced in Saskatchewan, and I mean, he's an experienced guy, so he's got to help them in the backup capacity.
Also on the topic of quarterbacks, the Ottawa Roughriders' problems are well documented. They hope they have a solution in Roy DeWalt, who is not listed as a starter here tonight, but will be in the lineup, and we do expect him to see action.
Well, I'm sure he'll play tonight, but you know, to me, it's a Band-Aid solution. You know, to stop the bleeding for a few days, but it's really not the long-term solution for Ottawa. They need to find a young guy, and maybe it's Jeff Wickersham, we don't know, but they have to find a young guy, develop him, and stick with him. Roy DeWalt will not figure in the long-term plans.
The Rough Riders, though, say they need some experience at quarterback. They've gone through all the rookies, but they've also stocked the league pretty well with other quarterbacks when you look to Toronto's starter here tonight.
Yeah, they sure have. You'll meet Gil Renfro a little later in the show, and he's turned out to be an exceptional quarterback, but DeWalt might add a little experience. He's a veteran guy, and boy, after the shellackings they've had in the last few weeks, maybe a guy coming in from another team might help to settle him down just a bit, but long-term, no way.
I guess one question off the top we have to deal with is, can the Ottawa Rough Riders keep it close tonight? Can the Ottawa Rough Riders come up with a victory?
Well, you know, I keep hoping that they'll win another game this year, and I'm not sure that that's going to happen, but you know, for our sake and for the fans at home tonight, I hope it is a close game, and the key is they have to stop Toronto and maybe create a turnover or something to try and make something good happen. That hasn't happened to them this year.
All right, we'll look a little more closely into the Ottawa situation as this evening unfolds here at Exhibition Stadium. But before we get on with Week 14 in the Canadian Football League, here's a quick look back to Week 13, starting in Vancouver. We begin in Vancouver on Friday with the 6-7 Lions hosting the 7-6 Tiger Cats. Hamilton took the early lead. Tom Porras connecting with Lee Knight for a 21-yard touchdown. The Tiger Cats into an 8-4 lead at the half. But the Lions stormed back after the intermission. Matt Dunnigan found the end zone on a 9-yard scramble. The game tied after 3 quarters. Then, with under 8 minutes remaining, backup quarterback Ricky Foggy found Scott Leckie in the end zone, and that proved to be the winning touchdown. Final score, BC 25, Hamilton 21. Game 2 of the week, an all-Eastern Division battle between the first-place Argonauts and the last-place Rough Riders. The Argos spotted Ottawa a 3-0 lead and then came back with a vengeance. Gilbert Renfro hit Darrell Smith with a 13-yard touchdown. The Argos up 17-3 at the half. The Argos exploded for 35 unanswered points in the second half to blow the game wide open and hand the Rough Riders their 13th defeat of the season. The final score, Toronto 52, Ottawa 3. Sunday in Regina, the 8-5 Saskatchewan Rough Riders hosted the 5-8 Calgary Stampeders. 4 first-quarter field goals by Dave Ridgway spotted the Green Riders to an early lead before Tom Burgess hooked up with a streaking Jeff Fairholm for a pretty 66-yard major. Saskatchewan led 19-0 after 1 quarter. The Rough Riders put the game out of reach with 20 more in the final quarter. Burgess surprised the Stampeders by hitting Bobby Jurison for a 3-yard score, and the Rough Riders never looked back. The final, Saskatchewan 47, Calgary 17. And the final game of the week featured the 7-6 Blue Bombers at home to the 9-4 Eskimos. Damon Allen hooked up with Jim Sandusky for a short touchdown pass late in the second quarter. Edmonton held a 14-1 advantage. But the Bombers battled back in the second half. This spectacular circus catch by James Murphy with under 6 minutes remaining gave the Bombers the lead for good. The final, Winnipeg 21, Edmonton 17. Quick look at the Eastern Division standings. It is the Argos by 4 on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Hamilton just 2 points back of the Bombers in the battle for second spot in the Eastern Division. In the West, it is dead even at the top, with the Edmonton Eskimos and Saskatchewan Roughriders standing with 9-5 records, good for 18 points each. BC is 4 back, and Calgary still with a shot, but 4 points back of the British Columbia Lions. As we look ahead to Week 14, those are the standings. Let's look back once more to Week 13 and check out the Foster's Stars of the Week. A big week for the Argos and the Blue Bombers, too. Saskatchewan place kicker Dave Ridgway earns honorable mention for this week's award. Ridgway kicked 6 field goals, including 1 from 50 yards in the Rough Riders' big win over Calgary. Winnipeg quarterback Sean Salisbury also gets an honorable mention. Salisbury had his best game in the CFL, throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns to lead the Bombers to a big win over Edmonton. But our award this week goes to Reggie Pleasant of the Argonauts. Pleasant upped his interception total for the season to 7 in Toronto's easy win over Ottawa. Pleasant picked off 3 passes and returned 1 for a touchdown. Reggie Pleasant of the Argonauts earns the Foster's Star of Week 13 in the CFL. And now to the top Canadian performance. Our award goes to Dan Wicklum of the Blue Bombers. The rookie linebacker had 4 tackles, recovered 1 fumble, and knocked down a pass to lead the Bomber defense in a big win over Edmonton. Dan Wicklum of Winnipeg earns the Canadian Star for Week 13 in the CFL. And still ahead on the CFL Report, our pregame edition, Leif Pedersen and Marty Adler get together to check out the line for Week 14. Coming right up, a look at the Hamilton defense. The CFL Report, our pregame edition, continues live from Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. We're about 30 minutes away from kickoff for the Toronto Argonauts and the Ottawa Rough Riders. About 3 weeks ago, the Hamilton Tiger Cats were there, ready to challenge for top spot in the Eastern Division. Then Al Bruno had a few problems. First, he lost his quarterback, Mike Kerrigan. And last week, he lost another Mike, Big Mike Walker. The defense is not quite the same. Here's a look.
This story was intended to be totally positive. After all, it's about the Hamilton Tiger Cats' defensive line. As a unit, it has the best pass rush in the CFL, bar none. A look at the stats will quickly back that up. Of the 4 leaders in quarterback sacks, 3 are Hamilton Tiger Cats. Grover Covington is number 1 with 18. But not far behind, teammates Mike Walker and Rod Skillman. However, the positive story took a negative turn last weekend. Walker suffered a torn biceps muscle and will miss the rest of the season. The loss could be devastating.
And we're going to miss him. You know, he put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He made a lot of big plays. And, you know, he's an all-star. And, you know, that's a void that, you know, he can't be replaced totally. But we're going to have to try to do our best.
Mike Walker is an impact player in the league, and you know, he's been double teamed about 4 different ways, and everybody's concentrated on him a great deal, which made other people a lot more effective. And without Mike Walker, we're going to not be as effective. The other guys are going to have to take up the slack. You know, he's been voted by his peers the top defensive lineman in the league the last 2 years.
Of course, the Cats will miss Walker, but what you may not understand is exactly why. They'll miss his skill as a defensive lineman, his ability to sack a quarterback, but he's also part of the chemistry of the defensive line. And that could easily affect players like Covington and Skillman now that he's gone.
It was a good chemistry. You know, we pretty much could read what all 3 of us were going to do, or in a situation where we needed pressure on the quarterback or we needed to get a sack, come up with a big play. We felt that one of the 3 of us would do that.
You know what each other can do, you know the weaknesses and strengths, and like me and Mike, like I make inside move or something like that, and he can read me, or if he make a wide move, I can read him. It's just, you just kind of like don't even have to say anything.
Covington may feel the loss more than anyone. He and Walker played together even before Skillman arrived 5 years ago.
For the past 7 years, that's the only guy I played beside. You know, it's just he's like my brother, so it's kind of weird not having him there.
I think they're competitive people, though they've had a real good, you know, relationship. I don't think they're trying to outdo one another. For instance, with Walker getting all the double team, Covington has excelled again because, you know, they're singling him. And he'll tell Walk thanks every game. Every time we're watching film, he'll say, Walk, they're doubling you. He said, that's giving me one-on-one. He said, thanks a lot. He thanked him every time he gets a sack. So I think there's a real good relationship there, though they're very competitive.
Having two of the CFL's best defensive linemen still isn't bad, if you consider the loss of Walker the loss of an individual player. But consider the effect on the defensive line as a unit. Mike Walker will be missed for a lot more reasons than his number of quarterback sacks.
And Earl Winfield are back. So my question for you, Leif Patterson, is can Grover Covington take over for Mike Walker? Can those guys be half as effective as they are with Walker?
Well, I think Grover's going to feel pretty lonely when he lines up against Winnipeg this week without his buddy Mike, and it will make a difference because what Mike Walker does is he puts so much pressure up the middle, he often flushes quarterbacks out to the side, and of course old Grover's just sitting there waiting for them. So it will affect them a lot, and I think the coach Ted Schmidt's made a good point about the chemistry of the team. Mike Walker is a good guy, and he fits in so nicely with the rest of the players on that team that they'll miss his presence just in the huddle, not seeing his face in there.
The Winnipeg game this weekend is a big one because the Tiger Cats need a victory to stay with the Bombers and still challenge for second spot in the East.
Boy, do they ever. I mean, this game is crucial for them. The Ticats are going to look back at this season, and there are a number of games that they probably could have won, and it may turn out to haunt them, but this game is like a four-pointer. I mean, it's as simple as this. They either tie or they're down by 4 with just 3 games to go, so it's a huge game.
All right, we've got your pal Marty Adler. He's coming up live later in the show.
I'm getting ready for that Marty Adler.
And he's somewhere here at Exhibition Stadium tonight.
He's hiding.
He's hiding? Well, I think he's somewhere trying to come up with the inside scoop. How are you doing against him?
Well, Marty and I have been pretty close this year. He had a pretty good week last week, so it's up to me to kind of turn the table.
All right, let's check it out with Marty. I think he is somewhere looking for the inside story on tonight's matchup.
Just checking out some of the guys before the game so I can make an intelligent selection a little later on in the show. The guys that never get any credit are the guys that are on the line, particularly the center. This is Ian Beckstead. He's the center for the Argos, probably going to make All-Star this year. Now, Ian, what are you expecting in this big game tonight?
Well, this is an important game for us. We're down to the final 4 games, and it's important for us to keep the winning ways up and establish that momentum, take us on into the playoffs.
Very good. Okay, I want to wish you a lot of luck because I'm picking you guys to win tonight. I want to offer you my lucky hat.
Oh, no, Mark, I couldn't take this hat from you. No, you keep it.
Well, how about my lucky hairbrush? My lucky hairbrush.
No, I don't think this brush will help me too much today. No, you keep the brush. Here, take the brush.
Well, could you use this?
Oh, now, Mark, that's what I need.
Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN as we get set for the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Toronto Argonauts live from Exhibition Stadium coming up this evening. And it's a pleasure to welcome Orville Lee, who is the second leading rusher in the Canadian Football League in his rookie season. It has been a tough year in Ottawa, but let's deal with the positives in your play this year, Orville. You have had an outstanding beginning.
So far, it's not been too bad. Offensive line is doing a pretty good job of opening holes, and we're squeaking through and getting some yardage. It's pretty good.
When you come into the league as a rookie, do you have goals that would say that you'd like to be the #1 rusher in your rookie season because you're on target to maybe do that?
Right. Well, that's one of my goals, like I said previously, is to be strong in the rushing game and to hopefully be able to win the whole thing. The situation with Gil is very unfortunate, but that's part of the game. And, hopefully the rest of the backs can stay pretty healthy.
Now, as you look at that rushing title, it is definitely there, and with a possibility you're a couple of 100 yards short of 1,000 yards, but the rushing title is there. Is that what you put foremost in your mind now outside of trying to get a victory for Ottawa?
Well, the first thing is to get a victory because it's been so long, and it's just. But if we happen to, get the 1,000 yards, then hey, that's great, and a victory would be the main thing.
Goes without saying that this has been a long season for the Ottawa Rough Riders. How do you live with that day in and day out? How do you keep a smile on your face and a good mental attitude?
Well, the first thing is not to get down. It's very hard, to say not to get down, especially when you're losing so much. But I've tried personally just, to keep positive within myself and, try to keep a positive attitude around my teammates, because in the locker room where you're losing so much, the attitude tends to drop, and I just try to keep positive and just try to continue working hard like it's training camp all over again, and, you know, lifting and running and doing the things that it takes to be a winner. So I'm just working hard as ever, trying to stay
I think
alive.
you got a pretty good shot at Rookie of the Year. What do you think?
I hope so. You know, it would be good, you know, to get that title. It would be really good.
Time will tell. Thank you very much for joining us. Orville Lee of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Let's go over to Leif Pettersson.
Well, I think coming into the season, you know, I was still coming off the knee injury. I don't think I was fully recovered, and we had some new guys at receivers, and everything was new. I think that last year, even though people said we were a veteran team, we still had some new guys at receiver. We only had one guy to return, that was Darryl Smith. So we didn't quite have the continuity that we have right now, and I think everything's working out pretty well.
Well, you've been in the Canadian Football League for 3 years now, one with Ottawa and two with Toronto, and you really seem comfortable out there to me running the offense. Does it take a young quarterback about 3 years to mature and understand the game?
I think so. I think it takes you, the first year you come in, you kind of learn a new system, especially being an import coming in, learning a new type of football game from the States, and learning the different defenses up here. It's kind of different with the 12th ground, the football field, and that's kind of different. And then learning your own offense, so and that's kind of difficult too, and knowing where everybody is and where they should be at each time. So that makes it even more difficult. I think 3 years is probably an appropriate number of years to gel and become a true quarterback.
You know, Gil, I played with some quarterbacks like Tommy Clements and Ronnie Lancaster, and although they never really said it, I kind of knew that they wanted to spread it around on offense, keep all the receivers happy. Do you ever think about that?
No, I try not to concentrate on trying to get the football to one particular guy too much. I just try to read the defenses and let them dictate where we throw the football. And if we do that, I think every guy will get his share of passes.
Gil, the Argonauts have had their share of injuries this year, their share of turmoil with Tank Landry and Nolan Harper leaving the team, but every time something happens, they seem to come through this adversity so well. Why do you think the team is like that?
I think that has to be a credit to our coaching staff and our administrations here. I think those guys, we got a lot of depth, a lot of guys on practice roster that could probably start for some other teams in the CFL, and I think we just have to attribute their good scouting and all their good recruiting to the fact that we've been able to put guys in when guys have gone down for us.
Well, you guys are a lot of fun to watch, and thanks for being on the CFL Report. Good luck tonight.
Sure, my pleasure.
Okay, John, back to you.
Okay, Lee, thank you. And coming up shortly, we'll put you together with Marty Adler to set the line and pick the winners for Week 14 in the Canadian Football League. When last we checked in with Marty Adler, he was getting some inside information. He's somewhere in Exhibition Stadium right now. Let's find him once more. Come on in, Marty.
Hi, ladies. I'm with the TSN broadcasting team. Listen, I want you to know, working with TSN, they treat me right. They give me first-class accommodations at the airport and the hotels, too. Now, listen, I'm here to try and get some inside information, and if you ladies can get me some inside information, who's hurt, who's not hurt, who's a little sick, I can really make it worth your while on TSN.
By the way, what's your name?
Leif Pettersson.
Welcome back to the CFL Report, our pregame edition, as the Ottawa Rough Riders get set to challenge the Toronto Argonauts for the 4th time this season. As promised, and for the first time ever on live network television, we have Leif Pettersson and Marty Adler. With the real Leif Pettersson stand up? Marty, I thought that was a cheap shot when you're using Leif's name with the cheerleaders.
Well, what was amazing is that there are 24 Sunshine Girls. 18 of them really knew that I was fibbing. So they knew who Leif Pettersson was.
Marty, my lawyer is Ben Fuderman, Ben Johnson's lawyer, and he'll be getting a call from him tomorrow.
And his horse won the Little Brown Jug. You know that? Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, love the hat. Love the hat.
Thank
Do
you
we
very
have to
much.
plug anybody? Do we have to say it came from somewhere?
No, it keeps all the heat in, as a matter of fact.
Is there hair under there or what?
Yes, sir, but I've got the bald spot all covered up in there.
Put it back on. It's
All right, let's pick some winners in Week 14 of the Canadian Football League season. First time for Leif and Marty to get together face-to-face. Marty, you're going to have to be on the line tonight and set some good ones. Let's begin with the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Argonauts here tonight.
Well, what can I say? After last week, Leif, you know, I wanted to pick Toronto by 50 points. I said, no, I'm going to make them 13.5 points. I end up going, 13.5. And what happens? They win by 49 points last week. They played 3 times, and all 3 times, you know who's won. It's been Toronto. Toronto's outscored Ottawa 127 to 21 points. I don't think that Roy DeWalt is going to help that much, although I was talking to the guys from Ottawa just before the game. They said they were embarrassed last week. You can be sure it's going to be a lot closer game this week than it was, and that's why I have made it 16 points, and it will be pretty close to 16 points tonight.
All right, Leif, jump in.
You know what's amazing, folks, is he did that all in one breath, if you can believe it. But I'll tell you, that is a big number, 16, but it breaks my heart, but I have to agree with you. Ottawa is, I mean, they are going from bad to worse. If it weren't for bad luck, they wouldn't have any at all. So Toronto will cover the 16. Okay, you can put that down now.
All right, let's move on. We got BC and Saskatchewan. Rough Riders going for top spot in the Western Division. They're there right now, but they have to try and keep ahead of Edmonton. And Marty Adler says,
well, the big news with Saskatchewan is that they've got Ken Hobart now there. Okay, now you don't think that's going to help, but let me tell you where it's going to help. Saskatchewan hasn't been in the playoffs in what, 11, 12 years or so? Well, Ken Hobart knows his business. Saskatchewan's got no experience in the playoffs.
With any luck, he won't have to play.
But the point is, this guy has got playoff experience, and that's what's important for Saskatchewan, because as good as Saskatchewan
Get the card out. Get the card out.
Come on. This is the slowest segment we've ever done on
when
the show.
they are talking foggy in British Columbia, they're not talking weather, they're talking Ricky. I like them, but I still think Saskatchewan's going to be favored by 3.5, and they will cover.
You know what's been fun for me, Marty, is as a former Saskatchewan Rough Rider, to see what they've gone through in the last 11 years, to see them turn it around, and I think they're going to cover 3.5 at home. I'm big on Saskatchewan, bullish on Saskatchewan this year. They will cover.
All right, Winnipeg-Hamilton, big game, second spot in the Eastern Division for the final outcome riding on this one, I think.
Are you talking Winnipeg-Hamilton?
If you get the right
Winnipeg-Hamilton.
Oh, well, let me say. Winnipeg-Hamilton?
Winnipeg at Hamilton.
Yeah. That's on this sheet right here.
See, this is the first time he's been in the ballpark all year.
I'm so nervous tonight because I'm with my hero, my idol, the guy that used Hamilton Tiger Cat. If you pick Hamilton Tiger Cats, you're actually picking Leif Pedersen, okay? I'm picking the Ticats by 3.5, but I'll tell you, this is a Jekyll and Hyde team. They don't like to win when you pick them to win. They don't like to lose when you pick them to lose.
Well, you're going to go with Winnipeg?
So I am picking Winnipeg to upset the Ticats. I think they're the hottest team in the league.
It won't happen. You heard it here. Hamilton at home, 3.5. It's too big a game for them. They need it to get back into second place tie. They will win it. How about the next one?
All right, we've got 1 minute to go, Marty, so you're going to have to be quick on the Edmonton-Calgary setup.
He can't do it.
Calgary needs an awful lot of help to make it to the playoffs. It's the only thing that they've got going for them. I've got to go with the Eskimos. They're favored by 2, and they will cover 2. No question about it.
You know what? They are playing great football. Between Toronto and Edmonton right now, 2 hottest clubs in the CFL, and I honestly believe it is in Calgary. Calgary usually plays pretty well at home, but I think it's a safe bet to take Edmonton by 2. You see, you know what? You set the brutal line, so I have to agree with you. You set them so there's no controversy. And the thing is, you get the first picks every week, and then the only way I can create controversy is to go against you, and you make the line so ridiculous I can't go against you.
But every week you get the last say. I can never get a comeback. You've always got the last say, but it's not going to happen this week. Let's go to break. 5, 4.
Actually, I do have the last say this week, Marty. Listen, I'm glad you guys have finally met each other, but I do have the last say. Thanks for coming by live.
Call him Antoine?
No, it's nice to finally see you at a game.
Oh.
Anyway, there's your line for Week 14 in Canadian football. Marty and Leif, and if you want to jot those down at home, maybe we'll check them out for you next time around. Ahead tonight on TSN, live from Exhibition Stadium, coast to coast in Canada, the Ottawa Rough Riders out to break a 9-game losing streak. The Toronto Argonauts look for their 4th straight victory. It is all coming up live from Exhibition Stadium on TSN's CFL Game of the Week. We'll be right back. The CFL Report is brought to you by Foster's Lager, the Golden Throat Chama,